Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am pleased to welcome you to the festive opening of the Technion-Israel Institute of Technology Board of Governors and the Honorary Fellows Award ceremony. Chairman of the Board of Governors, Mr. Lawrence Shapiro, President of the Technion, Professor Peretz Levi, Ms. Barbara Seimitz, Science Counselor for the German Embassy in Tel Aviv, members of the Board of Governors, Technion management, deans, faculty members, students and alumni, distinguished recipients of the honorary fellowships and their guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Avi Schroeder and I'm Associate Professor of Chemical Engineering and Head of the Jeffrey Lewis Laboratory for Personalized Medicine Technology at the Technion. Our lab develops nanotechnologies for improving the management of metastatic cancer. It is my pleasure to serve as tonight's Master of Ceremonies. We have gathered here this evening to express our appreciation and respect for the admirable individuals who are recognizing with honorary fellowships. On behalf of the Technion, I welcome you, members of our Board of Governors, friends of the Technion from Israel and abroad, and the entire Technion family. The wonderful people we are honoring tonight have shown outstanding dedication to the Technion's mission through their support of our students, new faculty members, and research initiatives. Through their long-standing friendship and volunteer leadership, tonight's honorees have helped the Technion advance science and technology. I speak for my fellow faculty members and the Technion at large in thanking our honorees for their hard work on our behalf, for their devotion to the Technion and their commitment to Israel. We are privileged to honor you tonight. Thank you so much. This year, the Board of Governors marks a transition period. We acknowledge the end of an era of exemplary, productive leadership by President Peretz Levi and Chairman of the Board of Governors, Mr. Lawrence Shapiro. We salute these great leaders and welcome the new leadership that will be confirmed this week. Thank you very much, Professor Levi and Mr. Shapiro. The Technion, Israel's first and leading institute of science and technology, has made great strides in technological innovation, playing a key role in the development of the startup nation. Moving forward, the Technion is dedicated to advancing the teaching of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, all known as STEM subjects, in order to ensure the future generations will have the knowledge and skills they need to continue driving discovery and improvements in the lives of people around the world. With the help of our friends and honorees, the Technion is undertaking major goals in artificial intelligence, clean energy, quantum engineering, and cancer research. We are very grateful for your support. Our Technion societies strengthen and support this nation-building innovation. With us tonight are representatives from our societies from all around the world. These are the countries where the Technion is represented. Let us raise the flags, and the people in the front row, please look back how beautiful it is to see how strong the Technion is all around the world. This is amazing. And now, I would like to welcome the head table. Mr. Lawrence Shapiro, Chairman of the Board of Governors. Professor Peretz Levi, President of the Technion. Mr. Gideon Frank, Chairman of the Council. It is my great privilege to introduce our distinguished honorary fellowship recipients. I ask you to please take your places on the stage as I call your names. Sarah Arenson, Israel. Mitchell Julis, USA. Linda Kovan, USA. Professor Dr. Thomas Scheper, Germany. Eugene and Marlene Shapiro, USA. Dr. Gideon Stein, Israel. Ladies and gentlemen, I now call upon the Chairman of the Board of Governors, Mr. Lawrence Jakir, to address us.
Good evening, Mishpacha Technion. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the festive opening of the Board of Governors for 2019. But before I begin, I just want to recognize those fathers who today are celebrating Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to all of you. Tonight has three purposes, none of which rank any higher than any of the others. The first is to extend appreciation to our Technion societies throughout the world, just as Avi did. In the past 12 years, as chair of the Board of Governors, I have always been in awe of how the Technion, in addition to being known as a first-class university, is also known as Israel's Center for Technological Development. This is in the main due to those societies that we just celebrated, all of whom work to promote the Technion and raise much-needed funds for its future development. The volunteers, professional workers, and supporters of the societies know what can be achieved through intense belief in an institution and what cutting-edge advancements are made through hard work, determination, and commitment. Thank you to all our societies worldwide. You do sterling work, and I applaud you and ask everyone once again to join me in doing so. Thank you. Our second purpose is to honor the work of the Technion itself. There are many in the world, including governments, who place Israel and consequently its institutions under constant attack. The Technion's continued presence is proof that in spite of all the attacks against Israel and its institutions, we progress in our efforts for the sake of humanity. The Technion is a powerhouse in which the greatest of minds come together for the benefit of education. It is in this environment that young people learn and faculty teach, rewards are received and contributions made, and where humble beginnings become proud success. Through our hard work, we are at the cutting edge of technological, scientific, and medical innovations. Through our hard work, we are at the forefront of innovation and development, creating the future of which we can all be proud. We are also at the forefront of globalization of education, with 2 campuses on either sides of the world. And yet we have learned to balance this globalization with the continuation of a strong and firmly grounded campus here in Haifa. This is because we are an Israeli institute, yet part of the history of the State of Israel, supported by world Jewry and related to a philosophy of Klal Yisrael. We are the Technion family, Mishpacha Technion, a phrase that I adore. The family is one of nature's masterpieces, and when trouble comes, it is the family that supports all of us. Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh LaZeh. This is the concept that keeps us strong and focused. Every Jew is responsible for every other Jew. That's our special formula. And as I've said many times, if a Jew sneezes in Jerusalem, someone in Los Angeles or somewhere will say, Gesundheit. This morning at the opening plenary, I referred to the Technion needing to ensure that there is room in this family for everyone. There is, and we all know it, a dispassionate attitude taken by some members of the younger generation of Jews in the diaspora regarding the state of Israel and its people. While Jewish support for the state of Israel has always figured prominent in Jewish thinking, that is no longer automatically the case. There is no longer an immediate memory of what it was like not to have a state, or what it was like to fight the wars for survival. Work must be done to involve this group in the family. If anyone can do it, the Technion can, as a source of and center of technological innovations, startups, and the technological future, all areas in which young people nowadays are clearly involved. Through all this, we may then be able to get them to appreciate the Technion family and the support that the family provides to all who are in it. This cannot be pushed aside as simply a dream. It needs to be taken on the board as a vital necessity, as in the words of Theodore Herzl, Im tirtzu ein zo agada. If you will it, it is no dream. So having set this challenge, let us now congratulate ourselves, not necessarily on a job well done, but on a job in continuous progress. But a cautionary note, let us not be complacent. There are still those who wish to boycott us at best and destroy us at worst. We obviously cannot allow either of those things to happen. We are here this evening for the benefit of champions for all that we stand for. We need to ensure that those who are with us remain with us. Those on the sidelines become part of us. And those who are against us will at some time see the benefits that we bring to this world and hopefully change their views and intentions. Talking of champions brings me to the third purpose of this evening, and that is to honor those whom we are to confer the title Honorary Fellow. As it has become my tradition, I remind you all that the Hebrew for the title Honorary Fellow is Amit Kavod, literally a friend of honor. There is a wonderful Jewish saying that one who finds a friend finds a treasure. Hello, treasures. How apt it is, therefore, that the word friend is in the title we confer on those on this stage this evening. You are the treasures that enhance our family, and you deserve that honor. And finally, my president, my dear friend Peretz, my good friend Gideon Frank, chairman of the council, members of the Technion Mishpacha. It has been 12 years since I've had the high honor of being the chair of the International Board of Governors of the Technion. It has been 12 of the best years of my life. Not everyone can say they were involved at such a position in an organization that has as its vision to become a science and technology research university among the world's top 10, dedicated to the creation of knowledge and the development of human capital and leadership for the advancement of the state of Israel and all mankind. I would like to thank all of you for enabling me to have held such a position. I am conscious of the fact that the Hebrew word for leadership is manhigut, derived from the root word in Hebrew for the concept of behavior, because Judaism teaches that effective leadership is not about position, it's about behavior and action. I hope I did okay and was worthy of the position. I wish this great institution, the Technion, so much for the future. May all those associated be worthy of its achievements of the past, its work in the present, and its goal for the future. but above all, may they be honor-bound to the vision that guides its existence. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jakir, for your beautiful, beautiful words. I now invite Professor Peretz Lavi, President of the Technion, to address us.
Thank you, Professor Schroeder. Chairman of the board, my chairman, Larry Jakir, Chairman of the Council, Mr. Gideon Frank, distinguished recipients of the Honorary Fellowship Awards, dear guests, ladies and gentlemen. So I want to show you something very special. What I'd like to share with you is my cognitive photo album, brimming with special moments from the spectacular decade coming to an end, during which I have been so very privileged to serve as president of the Technion. The unique experiences have been exciting, moving, sometimes dramatic, and have always made me extremely proud to be a member of this family. The life of a president of the Technion is a kaleidoscopic mixture of events, one embedded in another, forming an astonishing river of experiences and emotions. 10 years of moments are too much, too many to mention, but I'd love to share with you a representative selection of some of my favorite and most memorable. Over the past decade, meeting dozens of university presidents and provosts, ministers of science and education, the realization that the Technion is a unique place with a one-of-a-kind atmosphere of a mishpacha, a family, has been reinforced again and again. A family whose members are all at once achievers, dedicated to science and education, and individuals who care for each other, for the country in which they live, for mankind, wherever they are. We often use the word family when we speak about the Technion, and for good reasons. In a family, each member cares for the other, particularly in cases of disaster and stress. There were many moments during the last 10 years that have justified these feelings. Let's turn the page in the album to the year 2013, for example, when it had become evident that the Syrian dictator Assad was using chemical weapons in the bloody civil war in Syria, and there was a tension regarding how this might affect northern Israel. Lina and I were on a vacation in Iceland at the time, and standing on a volcano mountain, my phone rang. It was Yoav, the Technion security officer, calling me to reassure. Professor Lavi said, "Don't worry. In case of emergency, we have obtained gas masks for every non-Israeli student on campus. We are well prepared for any development." Let's turn the page in the album to one of the Technion's job fairs, held twice a year. Dozens of companies compete with one another for the hearts of the students in many ways, some very creative. I was standing next to an autonomous boat brought by Rafael to impress students and attract their attention, when a student touched my shoulder. "President, may I show you something?" "Sure," I said. "Do you see the black box at the top of the pole on the boat?" "Yes," I answered. "That was my master's project," he told me. And I could easily sense the pride and the excitement in his voice. "Can you tell me what the function of the box is?" I asked him. "No," he replied seriously, "this is top secret." Come with me to Poland, another page of the album. Our students are outstanding. They are bright, dedicated, and most importantly, mature. Lina and I joined the Technion students delegation to the death camps in Poland. Spending several days with our students, representing all Technion faculties, was an emotional experience. We were deeply impressed by their maturity, sensitivity, and sober views about life and their future dreams and goals. One moment I'm sure Lena and I will never forget was when we stood among our students in Auschwitz, holding Israeli flags, facing the remains of the gas chambers, when I told them how proud I was to be their president. And the risk of totally sounding like a proud parent, let's flip to the snapshot where twice a year I have a moments of naches when I get to meet the outstanding students on the president list and their families. When I meet these students, whose grade average are at the top 3% in the Technion, and I talk with their proud parents, who do not miss a single meeting, I feel such pride to learn how much they value the education they are receiving here at the Technion, how important it is for them, and how hard they are willing to work to make the most out of it. And here is one again, one of many pages of the album dedicated to our fantastic staff. There were so many moments when I have felt immensely proud of the Technion and its achievements. Nomination of Technion members for international and national prizes. Faculty members who excitedly called me to let me know they had won a major grant or published an important paper in a prestigious scientific journal. It's a special pleasure each year to meet the recipients of the Yanai Prize, faculty members who prioritize teaching and education as the important mission that it is. And of course, participating in the Nobel ceremony in Stockholm in 2011, when distinguished Professor Danny Shechtman shook the hand of the King of Sweden, was such a moment. It was my second time as I participated in the Nobel ceremony 7 years earlier when Professor Hershko and Professor Chekhanover received their prize, and I have felt the same excitement and pride. The special kind of pride was also felt distinctly last Independence Day when Professor Marcel Makhlouf, Dean of Biotechnology and Food Engineering, stood on the podium on the Mount Herzl and read the dedication speech and lit one of the 12 torches at the Israel's 70th Independence Day ceremony. The multifaceted beauty of the Technion family shines from every page of my album. A particularly moving aspect of that beauty is captured in the words I received from Dr. Adi Chen Guterman, the head of the Technion's Safety and Radiation Unit. I received the letter in January 2018. Adi's son, On, was the co-pilot of an Apache helicopter that crashed on August 7, 2017. Pilot Dudi Zohar, of blessed memory, a Technion graduate on reserve duty, was killed, and On was severely injured. A few months later, Adi sent me a personal letter from which I'd like to share with you a few words with her permission. During the period of insanity which came upon me from that damned foggy night on August 7, 2017, though through mid-November, my commanders and friends here on the campus of the Technion, where I have grown up and in which I spend most of my hours, and the best of them, were a strong support system, responsive to every emerging need, radiating empathy, holding space and genuine concern for the well-being of On, of my family, for my own. Your excellent employees, Professor Lavie, showed us kindness, compassion, and endless devotion. And of course, the Technion family is not confined to Haifa or to Israel. It's an extended family, as you heard from our chairman, with members on every continent. During the last few days of March 2011 in New York, I visited Henry Taube, one of the legendary supporters of the Technion, who served for more than 10 years as the chairman of the board. Henry was hospitalized, and his medical condition was very severe, as I was told by Mickey, his wife, who accompanied me to his bedside. Despite his deteriorating health and weakness, Henry insisted on talking on one thing, about the Technion. He wanted to hear all my plans for the future, fundraising, how we are preparing for the wave of retirements in every little detail. When we left the room, Mickey told me that the Technion and its future were the only thing on Henry's mind. 3 days later, on March 31st, Henry, may his memory be of blessing, passed away. On that same 2011 page of my album, I remember vividly standing next to New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg and Cornell President Dr. David Scorton, facing hundreds of journalists and TV cameras in the City Hall when Bloomberg announced that Cornell and the Technion had won the competition to open a new university in New York. Moments earlier, I had been alone for a second with Michael Bloomberg, and I asked him, why Technion? He responded without hesitation. You took Jaffa oranges and you turned them into semiconductors. I expect you to do the same for the city of New York. 6 years later, in September 2017, it was Governor Cuomo, the governor of New York, who during the inauguration of the magnificent campus on Roosevelt Island turned to me and said, Peretz, you are doing a mitzvah for New York City. We are tonight here to celebrate 7 beloved faces in the album, in my album, in recognition of our dear honorary fellows, beautiful faces of the Technion family from near and far. Sarah Arenson and her late husband Avi have been devoted members of the Technion family. They helped the Technion preserve the heritage of the design traditions of the built environment. Gideon Stein, an exemplary alumnus of the Technion Faculty of Electrical Engineering, who played a major role in founding Mobileye Vision Technologies. Mitch Julis from Los Angeles and Linda Kovan from Detroit, who represent the emergent leadership of the American Technion Society, whose enthusiasm was infectious and who revitalized the support for the Technion in their communities. Marlene and Eugene Shapiro from Phoenix represent those who for many decades were involved with the Technion and played active leadership in every level of the American Technion Society. And finally, Professor Dr. Thomas Scheper from Leibniz University in Hanover. Thomas, chairman of the German Technion Society, a champion of the Technion and the State of Israel in Germany, has played a major role in enhancing German-Israeli academic collaboration. Thank you, each one of you. And now I'd like to share with you the last photo for my album, with which I'd like to leave you. This is a very recent moment of joy from just a few weeks ago. It demonstrates how the Technion, an institute proudly carrying a flag of excellence, hasn't lost its human touch. I was in New York on a Technion mission when I learned that one of our recent medical school graduates, Dr. Hodaya Uliel, was selected to light one of Israel's Independence Day torches, the very same ceremony at which Professor Marcel Makhlouf had been honored the previous year. Hodaya, despite her physical limitation due to the cerebral palsy she copes with, successfully completed her studies at the Rappaport Faculty of Medicine. An astonishing accomplishment, an astonishing accomplishment. I immediately called Hodaya to congratulate her. About an hour later, my phone rang, and Hodaya was on the line. She told me she had just been given the text for the brief speech she was to give before lighting the torch. She asked that I help her add a few words about the role of the Technion and the Rappaport Faculty of Medicine that played in her achievement. Without the support and the encouragement I was given throughout my studies, I wouldn't have been able to complete my studies. This is what she told me. This was a moment of intense emotion, of conviction that indeed my Technion, your Technion, is unique, and how proud I am to be its president. Thank you, each and every one of you, for your unique part in adding these moments to my album, which I'll cherish always. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Levy. As a rather new faculty member, you always made me personally feel at home, and I'm always at awe to you for that. You guided this huge ship with a steady hand, and I want to thank you and Lena really for your dedication for this huge and amazing institution. To read the scroll that will be presented shortly to the awardees, I invite to the podium Mr. Gideon Frank.
הוועד המנהל של הטכניון, מכון טכנולוגי לישראל, בתוקף הסמכויות המוענקות לו על ידי חוקת המוסד והקורטוריון, ובהתאם להחלטתו ביום י' בטבת שנת 5779, מעניק בזאת, שהוא היום ה-18 בחודש דצמבר, שנת 2018, מעניק בזאת לשרה ארנסון, מיצ'ל ג'וליס, לינדה קובן, פרופסור דוקטור תומאס שפר, יוג'ין ומרלין שפירו, דוקטור גדעון שטיין, את התואר עמית כבוד של הטכניון, בי"ג בסיוון שנת 5779, ניתן בחיפה, שנת 2019, שהוא היום ה-16 בחודש יוני, בשנת ה-72 למדינת ישראל, על החתום, לורנס ג'קיר, יושב ראש הקורטוריון, פרופסור פרץ לוי, נשיא הטכניון, גדעון פרנק, יושב ראש הוועד המנהל של הטכניון. Technion-Israel Institute of Technology, by virtue of the authority vested in it by the Board of Governors and the Constitution of the Technion, and pursuant to the decision at its meeting on the 10th day of Tevet, 5779, 18th day of December 2018, the Council of the Technion hereby confers upon Sarah Arenson, Michelle Julis, Linda Kovan, Professor Dr. Thomas Scheper, Eugene and Marlene Shapiro, Dr. Gideon Stein, the degree of Honorary Fellow of the Technion, given in Haifa on the 13th day of Sivan, 5779, the 16th day of June, 2019, in the 72nd year of the independence of the State of Israel, signed by Lawrence Jakir, Chairman of the Board of Governors, Professor Peretz Lavi, President of the Technion, Gideon Frank, Chairman of the Technion Council.
Thank you, Mr. Frank. I now ask Professor Lavi to join me at the podium. I will read the citation for each of our distinguished recipients. The biographies in Hebrew and English can be found in your program. When I complete my words about each recipient, each one will approach the podium to receive their scroll from the President. Would Sarah Arenson please rise? Sarah Arenson, in recognition of your impassioned commitment to the State of Israel, of your social philanthropy, of you and your late husband's monumental contributions to Israel's built environment, in admiration of your research into ancient Mediterranean cultures and their impact on modern civilization, and of your determination to give it documentary resonance, and in gratitude for your beneficent support of the Technion's Avi and Sarah Arenson's Built Heritage Research Center. בהוקרה על מחויבותך הבלתי מסויגת למדינת ישראל, על פעילותך הפילנתרופית ועל תרומתו העצומה שלך ושל בעלך המנוח לסביבה הבנויה בישראל. בהערצה על מחקרייך על ציוויליזציות ימיות עתיקות והשפעתן על הציוויליזציה המודרנית, ועל נחישותך בהטמעת האספקט התיעודי שלהן. ובהכרת טובה על תמיכתך הנדיבה במרכז אבי ושרה ארנסון לחקר המורשת הבנויה. Would Mitchell Julis please rise? In recognition of your deep devotion to the Technion in Israel, in appreciation for your exceptional support of Jewish communities on every level, in gratitude for your enthusiastic championing of the Jacobs Technion Cornell Institute, and in honor of your selfless efforts to advance the work of the American Technion Society and the Technion for the betterment of Israel and the world. בהוקרה על מסירותך העמוקה לטכניון ולמדינת ישראל, בהערכה על תמיכתך הבלתי נלאית בקהילות יהודיות בכל הרבדים, ברחשי תודה על השקעתך העצומה במכון טכניון קורנל על שם ג'ייקובס, ובהכרת טובה על מאמציך האלטרואיסטיים לקידום פעולות ה-ATS ולקידום הטכניון לטובתן של מדינת ישראל והאנושות כולה. Would Linda Kovan please rise? In honor of your active and tireless leadership of the American Technion Society on both local and national levels, with gratitude for your sweeping vision that helped revitalize support for the Technion in your native Detroit, in appreciation for your inspiring commitment to the Technion in Israel, and in recognition of your many important contributions to your local community. בהוקרה על מנהיגותך הפעילה והבלתי נלאית ב-ATS ברמה המקומית והארצית כאחת. ברחשי תודה על הובלתו של מהלך עתיר מעוף שחידש את התמיכה בטכניון בקהילת דטרויט. בהערכה על מחויבותך הסוחפת לטכניון ולמדינת ישראל, ובהכרת טובה על תרומתך המתמדת לקהילתך. Would Professor Dr. Thomas Scheper please rise? In recognition of your bold commitment to championing the State of Israel and its scientific achievements in Germany, for your support of Israeli life science students, and for your leadership in advancing the breadth and scope of collaboration between Israeli and German researchers, and in appreciation for these and your other contributions to the enhancement of German-Israeli academic engagement, and for your long-lasting association with the German Technion Society. בהוקרה על היותך שגריר של רצון טוב בגרמניה עבור ישראל והמדע הישראלי, על תמיכתך בסטודנטים ישראלים במדעי החיים ועל הרחבתם של שיתופי הפעולה בין חוקרים ישראלים וגרמנים, ברחשי תודה על כל אלו ועל תרומתך לקידומם של הקשרים האקדמיים בין גרמניה לישראל, ועל מעורבותך רבת השנים באגודת ידידי הטכניון בגרמניה. Would Eugene and Marlene Shapiro please rise? In great admiration for your decades of tireless commitment to the Technion in Israel, in recognition of your active leadership at every level of the American Technion Society, and as members of the Technion International Board of Governors, and in acknowledgement of the active and vital roles you have played with such energy and enthusiasm in growing our circles of supporters. בהערצה רבה על עשורים של מסירות בלתי נלאית לטובת הטכניון ומדינת ישראל. בהוקרה על מנהיגותכם הפעילה בכל הרבדים של ה-ATS, לרבות כחברים בקוטריון. וברחשי תודה על פעילותכם הנמרצת והנלהבת להגדלת מעגל התומכים של הטכניון. Would Dr. Gideon Stein please rise? In recognition of your technological innovation, making car travel safer for all, for your prominent contributions to vision safety technology as the sensory underpinning the advanced driver assistance systems, in admiration of your prolific research in the field of computer vision and its profound impact on cutting-edge designs of autonomous vehicles. And with gratitude for your generous donation to the Technion as a role model alumnus supporting his alma mater. בהוקרה על חדשנותך הטכנולוגית המשפרת את בטיחות הנסיעה ועל תרומתך העצומה לפיתוח טכנולוגיות בטיחות המבוססות ראייה ממוחשבת, שעליהן מושתתות מערכות סיוע מתקדמות לנהג. בהערצה על מחקריך החיוניים בתחום הראייה הממוחשבת ועל החותם שהטבעת בתכן מתקדם של כלי רכב אוטונומיים. וברחשי תודה על תרומותיך הנדיבות לטכניון כבוגר התומך באוניברסיטת האם שלו. I call upon Mr. Mitchell Julis to respond on behalf of all of the recipients of our honorary fellowship.
It's a true privilege to be here and to speak on behalf of my fellow honorees. I, first of all, want to express my deep gratitude for this honorary fellowship. The awards that are being bestowed tonight to Sarah Arenson, Lina Kovan, Professor Thomas Scheper, Eugene and Marlene Shapiro, and Dr. Gideon Stein, and along with myself, but on their behalf also, I think they would share my feelings that this has been a privilege to be in association with the Technion in our various ways, whether it's service to the Technion or contributions to science and technology, or in support of Israel in general, especially in these increasing interesting times in which we live. I also want to express my thanks to outgoing President Levy. He's been a true teacher in many respects for the several years that we've been together working on various projects. And I'm very excited about the prospect of working with incoming President Uri Savan. And I have to also recognize Adam Schwartz, who was the first leader of the Jacobs Institute, Technion and Cornell School, where I serve on the advisory council. I've been, I think, on the advisory council for 6 years. And then Rob Davidow, who many of you know, was my boss at Drexel Burnham when I worked in the high-yield bond department in Beverly Hills, starting in November '83. He hired me. I tried to make sure that I didn't make him look bad all those years. And as part of his mentorship, he made it clear that each of us who were Jewish had a role to play in supporting the strength of Israel. And that meant supporting the Technion. So from the 80s till the present, my presence here is really a tribute to Rob Davidow. I think he's in the audience tonight, so I think everybody should give him a round of applause. And I have to also recognize my son Elliot Julis, who is getting his MBA at the IDC in Herzliya. He's been here since last August. And David Braverman, who is here on a summer internship. He's going to be entering his senior year at Princeton. He is the son of I have many mentors and teachers, but he is the son of Rabbi Nachum Braverman, with whom I've partnered to bring over the last 10 years about 600 professors of international law and relations policy to Israel, showing them both sides and trying to create a little confusion and opening their minds, since they do teach our kids and our grandkids. We're actually leading a trip, several trips this summer, and when I go back to Tel Aviv, we're actually starting our first trip for the Asia Society. I'm co-chairing that with Ronnie Chan, many of you know him, along with Yitz Applebaum. So I want to just make a few remarks tonight. Hopefully they represent the views of my fellow honorees. I know that the Technion is known for its technological prowess, but I want to really speak to the issue of what I think has been discussed but really should be highlighted, which is the idea that the Technion has been so significant in building bridges within Israel, across society, and around the world. I think that when you look at the span of the Technion's existence, the building of bridges is really one of its most crowning achievements. And I want to speak to this issue in a variety of perspectives. First of all, we have to recognize with the flag waving that was going on that the Technion should be recognized for its attitude, policies, and actions towards being open to the world. The recipients of the Honorary Fellowship this year come from different countries. The members of the Board of Governors of the Technion come from 20 countries. The Technion is the only Israeli university that opened campuses outside of Israel. Hundreds of foreign students study on campus and more. In doing so, the Technion is a pioneer lighthouse for the state of Israel. Such a small state, located in a rather hostile neighborhood, must adopt proactive approaches towards globalization, being open to the world. And the Technion is showing the way, while at the same time, as was mentioned earlier, still understanding that its base and commitment has to remain central to the existence and prosperity and meaning and significance of Israel itself. Technion presence outside of Israel brings value and benefits to people all over the world. And at the same time, this approach brings huge benefits to the Technion. Its students, faculty, and others as otherwise, they run the risk of inbreeding and being left behind major developments elsewhere. We're gathered here in Haifa to celebrate the Technion's achievements during the last year, and more generally since its inception more than 100 years ago. As proud as we all are in the glorious achievements of the past, we have a lot of challenges to face in the future. And I think all of us recognize that in facing these challenges, whether it's BDS or intersectionality, and where Jews and Israelis are being banned from various interest groups that show grievances that we are very capable of solving, but because we're labeled in a certain way, we're not allowed to participate in. This is increasingly an issue on campuses with which I'm very concerned. I think the Technion is showing the way of trying, as I said before, to build bridges to combat BDS, intersectionality, and some of the major challenges. So we have to resolve to continue to support the Technion, continue to adapt, help it adapt, make sure that groupthink doesn't take hold, and also being open to major step function-like changes in the way it communicates to the world, the way it educates its students, and the way it contributes to science and technology. Now, the last thing I want to say is why this has become so personal to me. And there's two major reasons. And it really represents a combination of passion, purpose, and a little bit of anger that I think the Technion has channeled very effectively. First of all, I'm from the Bronx. And I was born in 1955, and I lived there for 10 years. And then we moved out to Rockland County, where I went to school. And the reason being, New York was going through a deconstruction period. My parents were teachers in the New York City school system, and they were on the front lines of that deconstruction and chaos. And my mother was forceful in saying that we had to move me and my brother out to the burbs to be able to get a good education. Meanwhile, my father continued to teach and then lead schools in the Bronx during the most trying times. So I saw firsthand what it meant for New York City to fall apart. And then it started to resuscitate. And we saw that with the leadership of Giuliani and, of course, Mayor Bloomberg. And I was on the campus of Stanford in October 2012 because we were managing money for the endowment. And I was told in the presentations that Stanford was on the verge. I was told there by the then president that Stanford was on the verge of having the Stanford of the East in this competition that New York City was orchestrating. And I was surprised, and I was saying, okay, that's pretty interesting. Stanford does a lot. That'll contribute to New York City. That'll be a good thing. And then I found out that Cornell, where my brother went to school, and the Technion had won the competition. And this, to me, was a game changer. Because you have to understand that amongst the greatest challenges that Israel is facing related to BDS, intersectionality, and overall isolation is the notion of cities, power centers, turning away from Israel. London, for example, is no longer going to be considered, if it ever was, a Jewish city. But New York has first and foremost has its origins and its power in the Jewish community. And I saw this as a way to keep a power center in one of the major cities of the world. It meant a lot to me that now Technion and Cornell would be arm in arm in making sure that New York continued its renaissance and would bring that particularly to the New York City public school system, which had never really recovered from the 60s and the 70s. The second reason it was so meaningful to me was expressed in an article that I wrote for H.com and later in the Jerusalem Post. And this was about making commentary, the way the Israelis do, of creating value when others accuse it of creating destruction. And I'm referring to the horrible ending that you may or may not recall at the end of Munich, which is a movie that came out at the end of 2005. In that movie, essentially Israel was blamed for the cycle of violence that eventually brought down the Twin Towers. You can watch the movie. Spielberg at the time refused to acknowledge that that was the message she was sending. In the recent documentary, he finally owns up to it. He feels safe in today's time to make that commentary that by taking revenge on the killers at Munich, that Israel was perpetuating this cycle of violence. And to me, that was outrageous. But Israel, through the Technion, was showing that the best way to respond to such a scurrilous charge was to create something of tremendous value. The idea that the Technion with Cornell would help New York City evolve from purely a financial center to a major tech center was one of the best ways to respond to this kind of increasing libel that you see prevalent today. So I don't mean to be negative at all. I mean to be very positive about the power of the Technion and why you should support it. I'm expressing personally my passion, purpose, and this channeled anger, just to give you an example of why I'm so committed to this organization, this institution. And I just challenge all of you, because if you haven't fired yourself up for the next 25, 30 years, find some personal reason that fits with why you're already here. Focus on something that is congruent with the mission of this great organization, because we're going to need that passion and purpose and that anger to deal with the challenges that are coming up. Anyway, thank you very much. This has truly been a pleasure, and thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Julis, for your inspiring and touching words. To you and to your co-honorees, we again express our sincerest congratulations. And now, I call upon Dr. Lina Levy and Miss Eleanor Jakir to join us here up on the stage. זה שלך, הכסף, אני אתן לך את זה, זה של לינה, הנה, זה שלך.
We heard last night that behind every successful man there is a very fatigued woman. Eleanor, yes. We would like to thank you.
For what?
For being what you are.
Oh, okay.
You have a present from the Technion, a key that allows you to open every door in the Technion.
Thank you.
The Technion is yours.
Thank you. I can use it. Thank you, dear.
And this is a photo album, which is a brief history of you and Larry in the Technion. Moments of excitement, moments of emotions. Thank you, Eleanor, for your contribution. and for being here with Larry every time. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, thank you all. Now everyone can please resume their seats in the auditorium. And now, at this point, please all rise to sing the Tikva together.